Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Laval Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for post-Lightning Overdrive. With the release of Lightning Overdrive, we were given an awesome new synchro monster for the Laval deck called Laval X-Lord, as well as a brand new spell, not specifically for Lavals, but immensely helpful for just the overall play style of the Laval deck, which is to synchro summon out a bunch of different monsters using the different Laval tuner monsters and non-tuner monsters we have at the disposal of how easy it is to set them up in the graveyard with plenty of their support cards like Molten Conduction Field and special summoning them back onto the field with, like I said, the new spell card and cards like Rekindling. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. Now, not too much has changed. I have changed some of the engine since the last update from Ghosts from the Past, with this new one focusing less on the Cybers engine that I ran and more just of the Pyro and Fire monster lineup. So for the non-tuner Laval monsters, I still run the 3 Laval Archer. This is the newest card from Ghosts from the Past, a big helpful setup. If this card is normal summon during your main phase this turn, you can normal summon 1 Laval monster in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only use this effect once per turn. If this card's in your graveyard, you can target 1 fire monster you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card in defense position, but banish it when it leaves the field, and you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except for fire monsters. So basically, depending on what play you want to do with your Laval Archer, you either have the setup for more of your fire plays or even just the initial summon of this card and let's say one of your tuners on the field to then get out one of your synchro monsters. And depending on what the tuner is, you can set up more in your graveyard or set up for some destruction plays against your opponent. I also run 3 Laval Cannon, with Archer having the banish option. You can easily summon back any of your Laval cards with Laval Cannon. When it's normal or flip summon, you can target one of your banished Laval monsters and special summon that target. So even if one of your your synchro monsters gets banished, you can easily special summon it back onto the field. It's a big plus to rely on your Laval Cannon to summon those cards back into the field. The biggest weakness of this card is it doesn't have 200 defense, so it itself cannot be banished with our new spell card, which is Birth of the Prominence Flame, but still a big help to the deck overall for being able to get back those resources for us to use. And then lastly, for the Laval non-tuners, I just run 1 Laval Magma Cannoneer with this card. It's more in the deck just as an additional card to send as a different name next to our Laval Archer to the graveyard, along with the Molten Conduction Field, which I'll go over the play at the end of the video. I always like to, just to keep people up to date for what they play. And like I said, this card doesn't have that much of a useful effect. It's more of a burn damage by sending other Lavals. It's mostly just in here as the 1-of for the actual, defense stat of being a target for not only Rekindling, but the new card, which is Birth of the Prominence Flame. For the tuner monsters, I am running 3 Laval Volcano Handmaiden. When it's sent to the graveyard, if you have a Laval monster in your graveyard other than Laval Volcano Handmaiden, you can send 1 Laval monster from your deck to the graveyard. So with our Laval Archer being able to summon an additional card, if you send both these cards for a synchro summon, you can then set up Laval Volcano Handmaiden to send another one of herself and 1 more, and then additionally 1 more monster, setting up 5 monsters to fully fill the field with Rekindling, or even just having monsters to use with our prominent spell card. And I also run 2 Laval Lakeside Lady. This is more of a destruction card. If you have 3 different named Laval monsters in your graveyard, along with this card, you can banish it in 1 other Laval to target a set card on the field and destroy it. And your opponent has to control that card, but it doesn't have to be a set spell or trap. It can even be one of their set monsters. So very, very useful for this destruction. And then when those cards are banished, you can easily summon them back onto the field thanks to Laval Cannon. For some other lower numbers, I just run the 1 Laval Coattail, just an additional monster to send with Molten Conduction Field. We have in total the 5 different Laval monsters, so just having a 6th option to send to the graveyard for the setup. And if you have 3 or more Laval monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can even just summon Laval Coattail onto the field as an easy level 2 tuner, because with some of our level 6 synchros, this can be a good tuner to special summon to adjust for the synchro of our Laval X-Lord, which needs a tuner and a non-tuner fire monster. But being a level 8, it can work well as a combo with one of our level 6 options. But the bigger play I like to go for the level 6 options, and that is Red Resonator. When it's normal summon, you can special summon 1 level 4 lower monster from your hand. And when it's special summon, you can gain life points equal to the attack of the card another card on the field. And not only that, but Red Resonator has 200 defense, so it can be banished as part of the Prominence card effect, and also just more of a rekindling target as well, just being a fire monster with 200 defense altogether. And then also for the rest of the fire engine, I run 3 Boost Warrior, 200 defense, so another target for those cards. But if you control a tuner, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it's just an easy special summon onto the field. It's a warrior monster, so it's also a reinforcements of the army target, you name it. It's why I prefer to run it in the deck. Now, to take out for some space from the Cybers engine that I removed, I am running the 3 Ash Blossom just as a way to stop my opponent. If I have to go second with this deck, I definitely want something, because I usually only need 5 cards to rely on some of my plays, so just the additional Ash Blossom in my hand can stop one of my opponent's plays, and then I still can have plenty of cards to make use of on my turn for plenty of my synchro setup. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. One of the best spells for the setup in the deck is Molten Conduction Field. You send 2 Laval monsters from your deck to the graveyard. It's not a once per turn, so if you have multiple Molten Conduction Fields, you can send more and more. And I already said the play before, if you send a Laval Archer, and the second card is your Laval Volcano Handmaiden. Handmaiden will activate, sending another Handmaiden, 1 more Handmaiden, and then 1 additional card, giving you 5 monsters in the graveyard to then special summon back onto the field with Rekindling or with Birth of the Prominence Flame. 2 cards to banish to summon out a level 5 Synchro monster. And with that card, we've spoken about it enough for this video. We'll go ahead and show it. I run 3 of the Birth of the Prominence Flame. I can't believe this card is a common. It's such a good card. And the fact that it's such an easy rarity to pick up for these decks. You target 2 fire monsters, 1 tuner, and 1 non-tuner with 200 defense in your graveyard. Banish both monsters. And if you do special summon 1 fire synchro monster from your extra deck whose level equals the total levels of those monsters, you can activate 1 Birth of the Prominence Flame per turn. But it is insane that you can use your graveyard now and not just have to rely on Rekindling. It can be 1 additional synchro summon that you use even after your rekindling on the field. So a definite 3 of it is a once per turn, but opening up this card is very, very vital just for those additional plays. And I'll show some combos at the end of the video of what you can do for this easy setup. More special summoning, like I spoke of before, along with Birth of the Prominence Flame, a card that is off of the ban list, been off the ban list at 3 for a while now, and that is Rekindling. You special summon from your graveyard as many fire monsters as possible with 200 defense, but banish them during the end phase. So even if you banish, at the end phase, you really don't need to, because just make them as the resource during when you special summon them. Even if they leave the field for, some of your other plays, they won't be banished. They'll only be banished at the end of the turn. So you can make full use of all those monsters thanks to Link monsters, synchros, you name it. And then just if you have another rekindling, you can summon them all back to the field and get more and more monster usage out of them. It's not a once per turn like Birth of the Prominence Flame. So opening up multiple rekindlings is just an added plus there. For more of the recycle power for our spells, because just 1 spell in this deck can be enough to make a lot of plays go. So if you have some unnecessary cards in your hand, I run 3 Magical Stone Excavation. Now, I would definitely give up 2 cards to target 1 spell if that spell was Rekindling, just because those 2 cards can either be 2 monsters I can't summon onto the field, or just 2 cards I can't use. While Rekindling can give me 5 monsters on the field, which I can easily make use of for some of my extra deck plays. So that's where Magical Stone Excavation comes in, as just a very useful card to recycle those cards again. For the 1-ofs for the spell lineup, I run 1 Reasoning, plenty of different level monsters to make use of. Foolish Burial can set up additional monsters in the graveyard to summon back onto the field, or even to banish with Prominence, and also 1 Reinforcements of the Army. The search power for this is to either search out our Boost Warrior, or the fact that Laval Cannon is also a Warrior monster, another search for that card. And lastly, 1 Monster Reborn. It's really weird when you say Monster Reborn is one of the weaker cards compared to Birth of the Prominence Flame or Rekindling, just because these cards work so much better for the card you will special summon out onto the field. But still, a good card if you just need that 1 synchro on the field or 1 resource to go into the synchro monster. And that is it for the spells. We'll now move on to the traps. The only trap I'm running in the deck is still the 2 Dustflame Blast. You banish all lava monsters from your graveyard and then destroys any number of cards in the field up to the number of banished for this card's activation. So you can just set this 1 card, even if you set up your Molten Conduction Field in the graveyard and no special summon play. Being able to potentially, destroy up to 5 cards in your opponent's field is what's so scary about this card. And the banish, those cards can be recycled thanks to Laval Cannon. So even if you banish a lot of them, as long as you draw into that card resource, you can summon them all back onto the field again. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the X deck. I run the 1 Laval X Lord. You need 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner fire monster. When your opponent activates an effect of a monster on the field or in their hand, quick effect, you can destroy that monster. And if you do, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. If this synchro summon card in its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon up to 3 non-synchro fire monsters with 200 defense from your graveyard in defense position. Giving you those resources just means more synchro monsters to summon out later on. So with this, you have Laval X-Lord as the great option to rely on for just resources and destruction of your opponent's cards. And it's got 200 defense itself, so another target for rekindling also. And I also run 1 of the Laval Salamander, one of the new cards from Ghosts from the Past. It's just good for, excuse me, lots of deck profiles. I've been doing a lot of them in a row, so definitely tiring myself out for that, but having a lot of fun doing it. Back on to the Laval deck. Laval Salamander. If this card is synchro summon, you can draw 2 cards. Then if you have a fire monster in your hand, send 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard, including a fire monster. So not only does it help for the graveyard setup, as I spoke of during the last deck profile, it just helps for the additional cards you set up and can use. I also run the 1 Laval Duel Slasher and the 1 Laval Dragon for our level 5 monsters. Dragon doesn't have 200 defense, so it can't be summoned off rekindling, but Duel Slasher can. But Laval Dragon is basically the Brionac of the deck, being able to have that shuffle option for our Lavals in the graveyard to target 1 card your opponent controls and return to the hand. And unlike Brionac, it is not a once per turn. You can use the effect multiple times as long as you have the Laval cards to shuffle back into the deck. I also run 1 Laval Stenin and 1 Laval Dragoon for the level 6 and 7 options for them, especially with Dragon being a level 6. If you were to summon a level 2 tuner back onto the field after summoning out Laval Dragon, it could be the cards needed to go into Laval X-Lord or just for more of that setup of cards in the graveyard. And Laval Stenin also helps with the monster effect negation, basing this card off of what you can send to the graveyard and then being able to banish a Laval and just protect it on the field. And for some of the other synchros, I still run the 1 Formula Synchron, the 1 Hyper Librarian, and the Shooting Quasar Dragon. Just the effect negation and how easy it is to set up Quasar Dragon. I don't have Shooting Star Dragon in the deck, but if you wanted to run it, you could take out the Paralysis, the purple Pyro Tile. It's just another synchro tuner that you can run in the deck as a fire monster as well, since you won't be limited for the fire plays with this card. 1 Trishula Dragonic Dragon of the Ice Barrier, and 1 Black Rose Dragon. Now, any of these cards can be taken out for Shooting Star Dragon to work with Shooting Quasar Dragon, but it's player preference which one you want to take out. And for more of the fire lineup, I run 1 Hida the Fire Charmer Ablaze, 1 Doolittle Chimera, and the 1 Saryuja. For all the different monsters we can summon out, just being able to draw into some more useful spell cards like Rekindling or Prominence of the Fire Lord can be big setup for all of, I say Prominence of the Fire Lord, Birth of the Prominence Flame, getting my names mixed up. So Saryuja's draw power can come in handy for that play also. And then as for the go-to plays that I spoke of before, the first one is the Laval Archer. If you summon this card and then go for your play of the additional normal summon, you can then summon out your tuner, which is your Laval Volcano Handmaiden. Use them for the synchro of 1 of your level 5 monsters. You can go for your Laval Duel Slasher with this play, setting up more with the Handmaiden play, setting up those 2, and then 1 additional monster in the graveyard can then give you the resource you need to summon and activate your Rekindling. If you put the Laval Duel Slasher you summoned into the extra monster zone, you can then summon all 5 of these monsters in the main monster zone, having 6 monsters on the field to make full use of, using the Laval Archer and the Laval Volcano Handmaiden. For an additional level 5 synchro, you can go for Laval Dragoon, which can be placed in the main monster zone. 1 additional level 5. If you want to before any of these plays as well, don't forget you're limited to the fire plays with this summon, but you can then go for another summon from the extra deck using if you keep these 2 monsters on the field, you can go for a level 6 play using Duel Slasher and Handmaiden to then summon out your Laval Dragoon onto the field. And then once per turn, you can add 1 lava monster from your deck to your hand, which then you can search out your Laval Lakeside Lady, sending it to the graveyard because of the same effect of Dragoon, but still setting up different names for you, because then you can banish Lakeside Lady for the destruction play. Having these 2 additional monsters on the field, you can then use them for another option, either going into the level 7 Laval Stenin, or if you didn't want to go for that, you can use the level 7 option of going into Laval Salamander, having all these different Laval monsters in your graveyard to then shuffle back with the Dragoon, and having all these monsters to hit against your opponent. For one of the other plays, with the reliance on our Molten Conduction field, you'll set up the same setup in the graveyard that we did before, but this time you don't have to rely on monsters to do it. You can just do it with one spell card, having that ready to go. And then if you go for the Rekindling play, not only will you have the option for the summon onto the field, but basing on what you have in your hand, if you have a Birth of the Prominence Lord, you have options for an additional synchro play. If you have Boost Warrior, you have the Quasar play, with the first setup going for your level 5 synchro, which will be your Hyper Librarian, so you can get some additional draws, which you could potentially draw into the Boost Warrior or the Birth of the Prominence Lord. And then the additional setup for these play will be your second one, and don't forget you're not limited to the extra monster zone with these plays either, so what you summon is up to you. You'll summon out your next synchro, and then having the monster set up on the field. With these being your only 3 monsters, you can special summon Boost Warrior, giving you your additional monster on the field, which is Formula Synchron, for the draw play. Having that onto the field will give you 2 additional draws, so altogether 3 draws from Hyper Librarian, and then being able to go into your Quasar with your next setup, being your main go-to boss monster from there. And then if you have Birth of the Prominence Lord, the big thing to remember is what you made in the graveyard. If you also have the additional setup for your cards that you banished, one of them could potentially be your Laval Lakeside Lady in the graveyard if you set it up with the Stenin before. As long as you have these 2 cards in the graveyard, you can activate your Birth of the Prominence Lord, the non-tuner and the tuner, banished for both, to go into your new level 8 synchro, being your Laval X Lord on the field also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Lavals have always been a favorite of mine from the dual terminal storyline. So I also heard we'll be getting some reprints for the set, hopefully making it a little easier for people to build these decks, especially some of the synchros that haven't been reprinted yet. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira, Twig out.